Hi, welcome to a new vlog. This is what was supposed to be a weekend reading vlog, but it kind of turned into like a longer one, but it's fine. Majority of this is gonna be just like my usual vlog. However, at the very end, I'm gonna talk about the very last NEWTs and the prompts for that. I will go through them as well. Totally fine if you just came here to check the NEWTs side of things. I will leave the stamp down below and I'll also write it right here so you can skip to that part of the vlog. Yeah, regardless, I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, let's go. Hello, welcome to another vlog. It has been a hot minute. So I want to catch up with you and just start with a little weekend vlog. I have quite a lot of reading to do until 5 p.m. today because that's my cutoff for the Patreon read. I'm reading The Switch, which I'll tell you about in a second. I'm just making myself a little bit of porridge, just about to add some cinnamon, exciting stuff, but I've missed you guys. It's been a while. I also have this nearby for garnishing. Obviously not, this is Drano blocker. I've just not been reading, to be honest. That's the main part. And then when I wanted to start, I have had my rib cartilage get inflamed, so I'm still trying to just live through that because it's not something apparently that goes away quickly, which is just fun, you know, because obviously migraines don't stop because you have something else going on. I actually filmed another vlog previously, but that never actually went out, so I might put up parts of that in here, especially because I bought some cat toys and then I unboxed it with you guys and then I never uploaded the vlog. So I'm gonna insert that here because it's cat toys and it's fun, you know, it's cats, so here we go. Last thing I want to do here is to show you some cat toys that I ordered. So basically once every year or so we order some fresh things for the kittens, but I also just desperately need Zeus especially to spend some energy so he doesn't shout during my workday when I'm on calls, when I'm just sitting and trying to focus and he's screaming. That's not ideal. So I've ordered a couple of things that these things are going to occupy him a little bit. Zeus has always kind of struggled with eating and then throwing up because it's so funny because compared to Momo, he eats so slowly. He actually eats super slowly. But he doesn't have the strongest of the stomachs, and since the food doesn't seem to be helping a lot, and until the vets properly open up, we're gonna try slow feeding bowls. I also got this, which AJ has actually gifted us 2 Christmases ago, I think, 3 maybe, but I broke it when we were moving places, so I thought I'll rebuild it. It's basically this little thing. He used to like it. Oh, look. Best toy ever. Thought it would be so good to just have like a place you want to sit inside of it. I don't know why I didn't think about that. And it's not really like sturdy, but it's kind of like thick enough and it's like material rather than paper, and I thought it would be cool. It just has cat toys on it. I thought it would be pretty good to like put stuff. Okay, so I see this is the first feeder, which is like the one, it's kind of like a toy, like they have to take it out in order to eat it. So we're gonna try that. Fun interactive game, we'll see. Are you archiving yourself? Are you a cat toy? You are to Momo sometimes. I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna sit in the cat box. Oh, cute. Alright. And then I got this one, which is more of a normal feeding in case he doesn't take to that one. And that one looks like this, so they're very different. I have the main star, I think, which is gonna be hopefully a big hit. It's a tunnel. They used to have a, well, Zeus used to have, I don't think it lasted for Momo, but this big tunnel, and Zeus was obsessed as a kitten. However, he got caught in the dangly ball at the edge of the tunnel and almost strangled himself. It was very stressful. Thank God I was there. Then I ordered the cat grass feeder. I used to just get those little pots and then they would, well, Momo doesn't care, but Zeus loves it a bit too much, so I actually have to hide it. Oh, I also don't have catnip spray. So there's definitely another parcel coming at some point. It fits perfectly into the cat thing, so that is my plan. So let's see how this likes it. Buddy, get out of the box and come here. Annoying. Oh, I can actually hear something. Maybe there is a thing at the end. Oh yeah, there is. It should be alright, but we might cut this out later. Please play with it. Ah, there he is. What? Hi. I'm gonna go right back in. Hi, Momo, look what's this? Loads of stuff. I'm gonna go back in. This likes it, I think. Unbelievable. And yet, unsurprising. I like that you can't really see toy, it just says cat. Lazy ass, come here. Also, you're gonna be eating slowly. Now, are you smart or will you starve? Oh. You can't reach them. Oh. They both noticed that. Lost. So just very intrigued though, which is nice. Oh, I'm just looking. Problem solved. I wonder if you guys remember this. Okay, so The Switch is a book. Good job, me. The Switch is a book about a family, and the main two POVs are the granddaughter named Lena and the grandmother named Aileen, so they like share the name. And they actually have lost Lena's sister to cancer, and the whole family is kind of like fallen apart because I think Lena blames her mother for stopping treatment. I don't know the reasons yet why, because I am on page 122 right here. So I still have quite a lot to read, but I have just over 4 hours to do so. So we're just gonna, that's the rest of my day. I'm hoping that I can manage that. I don't know my reading speed anymore. And the grandmother has her husband kind of like fled with another woman, but she is now ready to like live her life that she stopped herself from living when she kind of settled for that man. So Lena lives in London, in obviously a very busy city, and Aileen lives in suburbs where everyone's very neighborly, and there's, you know, a neighborhood watch meetings, and everyone, like, it's very communal. This all happens at the very beginning. But wait, actually, let me check the synopsis so I know. Okay, it is in the synopsis, so now so I'm fine to say this. Lena has a panic attack at work because she's overworked, she's a workaholic, and she gets put on 2 months sabbatical, which obviously to everyone else is like, oh yeah, holiday, but to her is actually really difficult. So she goes to visit her grandmother, and then when her grandmother starts speaking about, oh, maybe looking for another man in her life, but there's not many people around, Lena suggests that they can swap, but grandmother says that she has too many responsibilities here, so then Lena would have to stay here. That includes taking care of her mother when she needs her, and that I think was the biggest motivation, because obviously the grandmother wants the mother and the daughter to get along, and they're currently not, and it's like really straining the family, and they're all like kind of stuck in grief and you can't really like move on. The grandmother goes to London and signs up a dating app and experiences all of that, and Lena goes to the suburb and tries to fill in her grandmother's shoes, and I'm assuming, you know, it's gonna be all the unplugging and seeing life not through your busy schedule type of thing. And it's very humorous so far. Sometimes it's a little bit how do I put this, too like men focused for my liking. But I do really like Aileen, her whole perspective of everyone should be neighborly and why is no one talking in these flats, and her finding this other older woman, and I really like her side of things. I'm not too keen on Lena's side yet, but again, as I said, I'm on only 122 pages in, but I already feel personally attacked by the whole Lena thing because I am a workaholic myself, and personally attacked by many accounts on that side. But good morning, it's Sunday morning. So yesterday didn't end up exactly how I planned. You guys know I've always been open about my mental health here on this channel, and I think the lockdown and persisting health conditions have really gotten to me recently. I've been kind of struggling to the point where my therapist wants to put me on medication, this time from depression, but because of all of the other medication that I have to currently take, I'm not doing that, so I'm just trying to handle things as we go. So I'm trying to be very kind to myself and very lenient with a lot of things. I don't really want to talk about that now. As always, I think I will once things are a bit more manageable, but I am also not gonna sit here and say that I'm fine. Didn't film because I was real bad. it took a turn yesterday. Today I feel better, and I did, however, read quite a lot of the book before kindly asking the Patreons to delay it by a day, which everyone was happy about because apparently people also have not quite finished the book, so alright. I have, however, read up till here, so I'm basically finished with this book. This is what I'm gonna plan to do now. I'm gonna sit here and finish the book. So it is basically about the three girls in the family. There's the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter, and I actually love that dynamic so much, and I think after reading this I want to try and read more books including elderly people, but I will say that those books I've always avoided because I get very emotional when elders are concerned. That shit gets to me, so I have to go in knowing that I might be a wreck, but it makes me feel things, and I feel like it's more effective in my reading journey, so I might go and read something. I know there's like the old man named Ollie or something like that. Ovi? I don't know. There's some book that has always been like on my radar about an old lonely man. It's like, oh, just thinking about it. But if you guys know any more, please let me know, and I will, at some point I'll check it out and see if it does me in or not, if I can handle it or not so much. It's a very interesting kind of split between topics here because the overall big topic is grief, which I actually really enjoy that being included. It is not overwhelming, I would say, but it is definitely there and it's prominent. However, there's also this big part of the book focusing on men. Not on the mother's perspective, thank God, because that would be overkill, but on both granddaughter and grandmother. And I will say that I wish they just kept it to the grandmother and her seeking love at her age, because that is a topic that we don't see often, and I actually appreciate that, and it's interesting. I just think it was maybe not necessary with the granddaughter because, first of all, it was like, actually from both of the points, it's very predictable. I could see, like, I'm not even finished, but like I know what's gonna happen. Like I know, and I knew what was gonna happen probably like here, maybe even sooner. Like it's very predictable, but that's not why I read this, so it's fine. Sometimes it's a bit too much focus on the males for my liking. I think it's because there's also this friend B in the book that's also focusing on finding a man, and it's just like a lot of that. So that's my main kind of like criticism of this book, because I just think you don't have to find a man in order to be happy. And don't get me wrong, this book does not send that message, but it also does not say otherwise. It's fine to do either. There's no right or wrong, and there is a gay couple here as well, just mentioning that, but they're not a big part of the book. Suspecting this to be high 3 stars maybe. It's nothing that I'm gonna think about for, you know, years to come, but I am enjoying it as I'm reading it, and, you know, that's very British. Overall, I'm having an okay time with it. 5 p.m. we're talking about this with Patreons, and then at 7 p.m. I have my D&D session with the guys. Let's get reading and let's finish this. So I finished The Switch, and pretty much all the thoughts that I've said stand. I have not ran it through Copilot just yet. Currently my chest is acting up a little bit, like just the, what's it called? Costochondritis is acting up. So I think I'm gonna continue reading just to like get my mind off things a little bit. But I really want to read a comic. I am gonna go with Excellence, and that is a comic, as far as I understand so far, is a comic about magic and the main character who kind of blooms later, and they use wands, but the magic's very different. Before someone makes a comparison with Harry Potter, Harry Potter did not invent wands in the usage for magic. But I got intrigued by this comic specifically because the kind of superhero person is actually not sci-fi based, it's magic based, which I've not really seen before, and I'm very intrigued. And two is because this is written by Black creators and have a Black cast of characters. From what I've seen online from reviews and such, this comic takes the whole shitty trope of having any POC character in a story just to serve them as helpers of white people or white characters, and making that like a core part of the story, but then obviously flipping it around to critique it and make it like a... I got this digitally because I really wanted to read it today, and I didn't want to wait for it to arrive. I've already read 2 issues, I think, and there are 6 issues in the volume. And after the second one, there is the creator's note page, and I really liked what they said here. Being Black is about understanding that what you do is not just about you, it's about what you represent. You have a responsibility to not just represent yourself, but your Black, your borough, your community, your race. It's not right and it's not fair, but it is what it is. We all learn about this responsibility early on. They will always think that you are less than, good isn't good enough, you must be great. Being Black, the world is on your shoulders, and every day is shoulder day. So we come back to Excellence. This is our attempt to represent something greater than ourselves, something that has a voice, something that matters, something that I wish I had when I was a 13-year-old trying to figure out the world. Characters that look and talk like me, not stereotypes, real flawed, messy, complex characters. One of the major themes of Excellence is how the characters are not acknowledged by the public at large, that they are virtually unseen, invisible men and women. Our jobs as creators are to make sure our voices are heard through our actions. We're screaming at you to recognize us. I thought that was really interesting and a very interesting point to put across, especially about, you know, the fact that if you are from a minority of any sort, you usually are put in this weird position where you somehow you lose your individuality and your actions represent the whole group, which is insane and a massive mental strain. As I said, so far I've only read 2 issues, but I love the artwork. Let me show you the artwork. Looks like this. It's very like superhero-y, but as I said, there's magic. I like the setting, I like the world, I like the magic, even though I don't necessarily understand much of it. It doesn't really explain you too much of that. The boy, because we jump back and forth in timelines, and the boy sometimes is, you know, 2, sometimes 16, sometimes a bit older, but when he was 16 it was the angst, obviously always the angst. This comic is, I think, rated mature because it's an intriguing start to it for sure. So that's what I'm reading until our little meet up for talking about the Switch, which is nice and fresh in my mind, so that works. What's your... okay. One thing that I noticed, and well, they said that at the beginning, I think, is that only men get the powers, which so far there is a definite lack of any type of women in here. So if that's something that you don't like, because obviously a lot of superhero and comics, there's a lot of misogyny. So far, not great in that department, but otherwise, I'm really enjoying it.
So I'll just put on.
Well said.
Put your ear.
Hi! Hi, it is Wednesday. This was supposed to be a weekend thing, but here we are. I have since finished Excellence Volume 1. I find it intriguing. I don't know what to exactly feel about it. I feel like it will definitely depend on Volume 2. I found the additions underneath the actual issues where they have interviews with the creators very, very insightful and super helpful in interpreting the work, because it wasn't always super clear. And I think my biggest criticism of this so far, the fact that I must agree with other reviewers when they're saying that it gets quite jumbled around. Sometimes it's hard to follow the time jumps and know exactly where about we are. The plot line is still a bit unclear. A lot of this story focuses around a father-son relationship, which I think is a very important thing to discuss, but there's also loads of anger there. And however, I still get a feeling there's more to it from the father's perspective, especially after finishing the volume. But it's an interesting experience. I am really intrigued in Volume 2. I feel like I have more questions than I have answers from the first one. The artwork is chef's kiss. I personally really like it. I don't know if it's everybody's. Obviously, this is all subjective. I'd say it's around 3 to 4 stars for me. I don't put these through Copile as I put other books because they're comics. So I did try to readjust. I had like a whole system with like shifted or like changed categories from Copile with the same kind of idea. I usually find that I just rate them. 8:30 now, and I've just finished like a work call, although we like stayed up a little bit to just chat. Very tired, but
it's like dark.
Food. Okay, I'll speak to you later. Hello. If you remember, on last Friday, not yesterday, we spoke about food on the Semi-Literate on Jade's channel, and I mentioned that pink soup, and some of you were intrigued and disgusted, and then some of you who know it were just agreeing with me of how amazing it is. But I'm gonna make it, so I'm just gonna show you because it's fun. But it's also like I need some home without being home. Like my whole family is meeting up currently and I'm not there, and it's very sad, so I want something that will remind me a little bit of my home. So yeah. That was glorious. I couldn't decide what I'm gonna do while I'm digesting, but I think I'm actually gonna play a little bit of Animal Crossing. My island is beyond messy currently. It's just... So I might mess around with that and might try and listen to the audiobook I've started a month or so ago, and then I stopped because I'm not reading. It's You Should See Me in the Crown by Leah Johnson. I am not far in, but I can't see. I think I'm just like 40 minutes or so in, so really just starting. So I might listen to that if I can focus. But I'm trying to think, what was the last thing you guys saw? Oh, I'm trying to think whether I want to keep the path that I have on the left or to change everything to the one that's on the right. Hello, Pashmina. But I don't know if I've actually shown you my camping area, which I'm actually pretty proud of. I think it's really cute. It's this area in front of my museum, and I have not really been playing, so other than that, everything is the same. But yeah, that's the plan, I think. Hello, it's Sunday. I am in my cocoon because it is migraine day number 1. Oh, get it together. This is me getting out of the bed, and it's 8:30 in the evening. Well, obviously not hard on myself. It is what it is. This is the life of chronic migraine. I wanted to update you and also finish the vlog because I had a migraine. I was kind of like, I was doing my thing, laying in the dark, not being able to open my eyes for hours. And I listened silently to the audiobook. So, plot twist, I actually finished it. And I would actually recommend an audiobook. So the book is about Liz, who is our teenager that we're following, who has her mindset on this university, and she is a very good student with amazing grades. However, she finds out that she did not get the scholarship which she needs because she cannot afford to go to university otherwise, or college, sorry, this is America. And she goes to the school which is very focused on their prom. Prom is a big deal in this school, and everyone always thinks about it, but our main character is not like other girls. And she, you know, does not give in to that. She wants something to do with it, and she wants to just like move away from that and into the college life. However, she wants to find a different way of getting the cash that she needs without telling her family, because she knows that her family would sell the house, which she would be extremely guilty about, and just not something she wants to let happen unless absolutely necessary. So the friends recommend her to try and become prom queen, because in this school they actually rewarded with a cash prize, which would then help her with her school. So, and in the midst of that journey from this one mindset to another, she opens up a little bit and kind of like gains people that left her life previously, and rediscovers friendships, discovers the nastier sides of other friendships, and also falls in love with a new girl that just joined the school. So this is a Black and queer book, and both of these aspects I found really interesting to read about. They were definitely, I think, strengths of the story. I do think there were definitely strengths and weaknesses to the book, so let me just walk through some of them. Rekindling the friendship between her and Jordan was my possibly favorite part of this. It was just interesting seeing how it goes, and interesting seeing the reasons why the friendship stopped and how that all played out. I like that a lot of things were kind of resolved in general, not only with this friendship, but the other friendship that is way more problematic in my view. And I don't think that everything was addressed, but it rarely is in life. But there's this other friend that really takes way more liberty about Liz's experience in life and decision making that they are or should be privy to. And there were so many red flags. We do tend to have this like girl on girl hate a lot in contemporaries, and I was happy to see that this was somewhat resolved and not just left open. That being said, the main antagonist, if you will, is a truly horrible person, and also is a female, so there was still this like girl hate, which we don't like to see, but the hate wasn't because she's a girl. The hate was because the other one was a bigot. The other aspect that I really added a lot to the story and the impact of it was the story of Liz losing her mother through the illness that also her brother has, and so the strength of her grandmother and the way that she dealt with anxiety that came after the mother's death. I felt like it added substance to the story. I'm gonna count this as a plus because in most normal people it is. It's very cute, and it's very cute, and it reminded me a tiny bit of Heartstopper. If you like that, this might be an amazing book for you. You really have to be in a mood to go into a story, specifically if it's set in the school setting. So I don't think I picked the best timing for that, I will say, but this is not the book's fault, this is my own fault. It was very, very easy to listen, and an extremely good listen if you have a migraine, which is an odd thing to add, but I feel like if you suffer migraines, you'll understand what I mean. It's easy to follow, it was easy to also be engaged in it. It wasn't, I don't think that my intrigue was entirely peaked. I could have stopped at any given point, but it was also so easy to listen that I didn't find that it was like a chore by any means. It was lighthearted, there was some humor in it, and I love that there was a female-female romance, but I might be biased as a bi. I was about to say that rhyme, but it really didn't. Anyway, but I just love to see it. However, what I don't love is Insta Love, which I thought that this pretty much fit into. I don't hate Insta Love, mind you, so that didn't ruin it for me, but if you do absolutely like hate it from your gut, this might not be for you. There were a lot of sweet moments, and I really enjoyed that the family aspect was also not forgotten. It was particularly sweet moment with the grandmother at the towards like the end of it. I will say this is a very predictable read, I find, but it's not like it's a thriller, so it's not like it sets up to like surprise you and like include plot twists. Predicting a strong 3-star. I would definitely recommend if this is something that you think you would personally enjoy. It's not my new favorite, but it's also something that I had fun with. Stars is not a bad rating for me, as you probably know. I'm thinking maybe because I DNF books and a 1-star is really what's bad, because even a 1-star already means that I read through it for some reason. There was something good for me to read through it. So a 3-star to me is definitely not bad. So I finished 3 things this week, which is actually pretty good. Pretty pumped for that, considering the week that I had. Just before I insert the clip of the N.E.W.T.s, I want to thank you guys for those who joined the Looney Moonies and G's Army Tears on Why Can't I Speak Patreon. My brain, I swear. So I'd love to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. And so the people who joined were Carolyn, Stacy, Brittany, Olivia, Stephanie, Kristen, Laura, Jamie, Jacqueline, Bobby, Karen, and Jayla. Thank you guys so much. I hope you will enjoy the space. Hope you will enjoy your Mooney bookmarks. Thank you so much for your support. And honestly, that space, I can eloquently express how much that space actually meant to me, especially in the last 3 months or so. So, just thank you. All I'm saying. So with this beautiful view of me just being a cocoon, I hope you guys are well. I'll say goodbye to you now if you're not interested in the N.E.W.T.s, and if you are, then there you go. Hello, so N.E.W.T.s 2020, the very last. Technically I think the Owls 2020 were kind of like the last magical readathon inspired by Harry Potter universe, because that one was fully hosted and we all came together and read the books. But for obviously, because this is a process of 2 main readathons, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, even though I have made a decision that I'm going to be changing the magical readathon for 2021 with making my own universe and making my own magical university, or at least that is the plan currently. I am extremely sad about this whole thing, however I am not regretful. I stand by my decision for all of the reasons that I've mentioned in the video where I was speaking about the future of the magical readathon. If you have missed it, it's quite a lengthy one. I make a decision in the second half of it, so it could have been a little bit complicated or misleading to watch, but if you want to know my further thoughts or just me talk about it at length and just be open with you guys, that is already there. So I'm not gonna go through that here again, but I wanted to clarify a little bit because obviously I didn't quite know what's gonna happen around the N.E.W.T.s time, and I've made a couple of decisions. So decision number 1, obviously, as I said, I have made the prompts, I have made the printables for the prompts, walk through the prompts with you. I will also set up a page tracker spreadsheet where you can submit the reads that you have finished and just kind of like uplift everyone for reading, so everyone is able to continue with 2020 journey for the wizarding career if they so wish. Number 2 is that I will not be hosting this on Twitter, as I said in that other video. However, I will also probably not going to be hosting it on Discord either. There are a plethora of reasons. I couldn't be my normal upbeat self and I couldn't be my normal geeky self hosting this. And just now it just would not be genuine, and I don't think that would be fun for anyone involved. So, however, there is gonna be a room in the Discord channel, which I will link the link down below if you want to join. There's loads of people there. People did the Hogsmeade one there, and there's plenty of rooms. You can get sorted. It's loads of fun and people are really nice there. and I know that people are constantly doing sprints there as well, and you can talk about the books and the careers that you're reading for. And there's gonna be a specific room for NEWTs 2020, so you can guys have the sprints and you can chat about your progress. If you are just completely happy to just do it by yourself, you obviously don't need to, but if you were looking for some people to chat about it because the Twitter stuff is not happening this time around, that would be the place to go. But NEWTs is the second part of the Wizarding Careers Guidebook selection, so if you've done your OWLs, you will find the NEWTs requirements here. The difference is that each subject has 3 prompts, and as 3 pass grades exist in the universe, but you obviously don't need to read them all. And I suppose one of the positive things about this being somewhat offline is that you don't need to finish it by the end of August. If you want to extend yourself, I feel like 2020 probably grants us a extenuating circumstances, so if you wanted to take till the actual end of the year of 2020, you can do so. I'd say that's okay. Might be something that I might do, just to, like, you know, there's no pressure at all now. There's pretty much no deadline for this. Here are the 2 pages of the prompts for this year's NEWTs. So let me just like read through them with you, and just in case I want to explain what I kind of meant with some of them, but a lot of them are self-explanatory. So as I said, check here what subjects you need for the career that you picked, and let's go. So for Ancient Runes, if you want to get an acceptable, the prompt is Bethsheda Babbling. The prompt is the author name starts with a letter B. This could be a first or a second name of the authors. For Exceeded Expectations, it's to read a classic. And for Outstanding, it's a love rune, read a romance. For Arithmancy, we have A, precision is key, read a nonfiction. For E, you need to read a book that ends on an uneven page number. Or an O is for the book that's between 216 and 299 pages. For Astronomy, you have acceptable star chart, star on the cover or in the title. It could also be a series name, so basically star either pictured or star is in a word in a title or series name. Exceeded Expectations is to read a science fiction book. Outstanding, universe, read one of the biggest books you have on your TBR. Move on to Care of Magical Creatures. We have A, salamander, fire on cover or in title, similarly to the star chart. For the E, flubberworm, lazy is fine. Read a short book or a graphic novel or a comic, something short that won't take you a long time. For an O is Hagrid's Hut, start a book with a snack. For charms, we have A, cheering charm, read a humorous book. For E is Glacius or Glacius, which is a freezing charm. And the prompt for that is to read a book set in winter. It doesn't have to be like set in winter the whole time, but if winter is a big theme, it counts. For O is Finitia Incantatem, and that is a reverse spell. And I thought it was pretty clever of me to say read a manga, because obviously it is unusual order that mangas we read here, although it's pretty usual there, but you know what I mean. Defense Against the Dark Arts, we have Boggart, read a horror or a thriller book. For E, we have Kappas, water demons, book with demons or water themes, so it could just be literally set, you know, a pirate book or just like a coastal book, anything with water. O is red caps, read an epic fantasy. Then we have a divination. A, take the red cup, dear, which is something that Trelawney says to Neville, book with a red cover. E is crystal gazing, first unread book you look at. O is tea leaves, start a book with loose leaf tea. Herbology. Puffapods is for acceptable, which is flowers on the cover. Then we have E, nettle plant, book that might be impactful. I'm mainly kind of thinking something that's going to enlighten you. I'm mainly kind of thinking own voices books here, for something that you haven't gone and experienced it yourself, so something that would bring a little bit of a understanding into your life. O is always growing, book longer than your previous read. So then we have history of magic. For A, we have read a historical fiction. For E, we have book with a mainly black cover. For O, we have book recommended by someone older than you. Pretty self-explanatory. Muggle studies. A, read a comic. E is to read a book written by an author of a different race than yourself. O is to read a contemporary. Potions have A, ingredient, flying seahorse, book with sky in title or sky on cover, as in the actual picture has sky is involved, so maybe there's like a picture of a town or something. E is doxicide, author's name starts with the letter D, again first or last. O is girding potion for endurance, book over 450 pages. And then lastly, transfiguration. A, we have Lapiforce spell, animal on the cover, this or an animal name in the title. The spell is specifically for bunnies, but I thought that would be a bit too specific, so if you find a bunny, extra points, but if it's another animal, that's also fine. E is Draconiforce spell, book with dragons or fire, again applies to titles or covers. And O is Duro, which is a hardening spell, read a hardcover, or if you don't read physically and you listen to audiobooks, read a book you always thought would be hard to read. And that is obviously very personal, so it could be something that, you know, maybe is like a biography that you think would hit hard, or something that's a genre that you think might be difficult to read. Maybe it's in verse and you don't really read verse often, or high fantasy and you think you're gonna get overwhelmed. Just try it. Try and see how it goes, because I think McGonagall would, you know, challenge people. So those are the prompts. I would highly encourage, if you can, find a book that would fit those prompts that are also written by transgender authors, just for some extra house points. But that's, I think, everything. I will leave those down below for you to download and print if you wish so. I understand not everyone's gonna be doing that, that's totally fine as well. But hopefully next year I'm back with another readathon that's pretty much similar. Obviously it's gonna be different. I don't really have words to express how much the readathon, the whole experience meant to me. Especially in the last couple of years, readathons have really been a massive part of my life and a massive light in my life, especially whilst I struggle with a lot of health issues. It was something that brought me strength, gave me something to focus on, and gave me a sense of belonging like nothing else in my life ever has. So if you were a part of it in any way, shape or form, I would love to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I hope that you're well. Alright, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!